Hello everyone, welcome back to Emily Finally Reads all of her books. I thought to myself as I was editing the last video that I really ought to start looking directly at the camera instead of to my face, which is right next to the camera. This week's book is The Witches by Roald Dahl, an incredibly fast-paced book with more poems than one is used to in children's lit. Before we actually start the story, our unnamed protagonist gives us some advice on how to recognize the witches and then tells us the importance of avoiding them. He tells us that witches are relatively ordinary looking, and some can even be pretty, but all of them, no matter what, absolutely despise children, and I mean, same. Our protagonist, who, I reiterate, is never named in the book, but he is called Luke in the movie, so I'm going to call him Luke in this. He and his grandmother live together in England. Now, his grandmother has told him a lot of stories about witches from her own personal experience, and she's the one who tells him all the ways to identify a witch. For a holiday, Luke and his grandmother go to a hotel on the southern shore of England. Luke sneaks away from his grandmother to an empty ballroom to play around with his mice, and while he's in there, hundreds of women come in and they sit in the seats. One woman comes to the front and tells all the others that they are finally free to remove their wigs and their gloves. Now, two of the signs of a witch is the fact that they are perfectly bald, so they have to wear wigs, and instead of fingernails, they have these horrible claws, so they have to wear gloves. So Luke is obviously freaked out. Luckily, he is hidden behind some sort of folded screen thing, so he can see out, but they don't see him. Yes, Luke has managed to find himself right in the middle of England's yearly witch seminar. The head woman, the one who came to the front and said that they could all remove their miscellaneous accessories, is revealed to be the Grand High Witch of all the world. That is her title. And she is not only wearing gloves, a wig, but also a mask. That face of hers was the most frightful and frightening thing I have ever seen. Just looking at it gave me the shakes all over. It was so crumpled and wizened, so shrunken and shriveled. It looked as though it had been pickled in vinegar. It was a fearsome and ghastly sight. There was something terribly wrong with it, something foul and putrid and decayed. It seemed quite literally to be rotting away at the edges, and in the middle of the face, around the mouth and cheeks, I could see the skin all canked and worm-eaten, as though maggots were working away in there. Oh my good lord. And the illustration definitely doesn't help. Look at that. The Grand High Witch of the whatever, she tells all the other witches that she is absolutely disgusted with how many children that she sees in England. Luckily, she tells them that she has brewed this magical potion that will turn all the children into mice. But the plan to get it to all the children, that isn't super great. The Grand Witch, she tells all of them that they need to quit their jobs and to start candy shops, as if a sudden influx of candy shops all over England won't be reason to suspect anything. Next, the witches will poison all of the children in their respective areas by putting the potion into the candies. The kids will eat the candy, and then the way the potion works, the next day at 9 a.m., the children will all turn into mice at the exact same time. As if all of the kids in an area who all ate from the same candy shop, all suddenly turning into mice at the same time, that wouldn't be reason to suspect. At the very beginning, the grandmother told Luke that witches never get caught. I disagree. Luke hears this plan and is obviously terrified, and just as the meeting is ending, the witches are able to smell out Luke. That was another thing that the grandmother told us at the beginning, was that witches have a very strong sense of smell and that they are able to smell out children because they smell like dog droppings. The witches find him, catch him, and force him to drink 500 doses of the potion all at once, and that turns him into a mouse instantly. Luckily, he's able to escape, and he runs up to his grandmother's room and tells her all that he heard. As luck would have it, the Grand High whatever's room is one floor beneath Luke's, so he and his grandmother are able to get him down into her room, and Luke manages to get a bottle of the potion to take it back up to their grandmother. Their plan is to put the potion into the dinner that the witches will all be having that evening, and to turn them all into witches, just to rid England of its witches forever. Luke is able to get the potion into the soup that all of the witches are having, at the cost of a couple inches off of his tail, but it's done. The witches are all turned into mice, and England is free. So then Luke and his grandmother move back to Norway, where the grandmother is from, with a plan to search down all of the witches all over the world in order to free all of the children from this horrible curse. And that's it. Much shorter book, very fast read. Let's give some opinions. I love the journeys that the Roald Dahl books put you on. They create this world with 100% sincerity, and you just have to buckle in and get ready for it. Like, yeah, there's witches. They exist. Now let's do this for the next 100 or so pages. The very first chapter, and then the exposition that the grandmother gives, is all done to help set up the world where these monstrous creatures exist. And then Quentin Blake's illustrations with his shaky lines, it really establishes that these are people, creatures, monsters that just can't be trusted. This sort of story falls into the same category as Coraline, the category of why are these children's books? I mean, you have all of the grandmother's terrible stories from her childhood, and then you have the witch's horrible plan, and Luke's description of the horrible pain that he's feeling as he turns into a mouse. It's like, this is not for children. However, since this is a child's book, there are morals. Let's figure out what Bless you! Being afraid of strange women who want to give you gifts and lure you away. Okay, yeah, good moral. Baths are bad because when you're the cleanest, that's when the witches can smell you the most clearly. I mean, not super good? Being a mouse is good. What? No, really. Little boys have to go to school. Mice don't. Mice don't have to pass exams. Mice don't have to worry about money. Mice, as far as I can see, have only two enemies, humans and cats. My grandmother is a human, but I know for certain that she will always love me, whoever I am, and she never, thank goodness, keeps a cat. When mice grow up, they don't ever have to go to war and fight other mice. Mice, I feel pretty certain, all like each other. People don't. Yes, I told myself, I don't think it is at all a bad thing to be a mouse. Alright, some questions. Did I like it? Hell yes, I love this book. And it's probably a bit of nostalgia mixed in with, like, Roald Dahl is actually a really good writer, but I really did enjoy this book. I forgot with children's stories that you only have about 100 pages to tell a whole story, so you gotta jump in real fast. Then it's gotta go fast consistently. It's like every single page has a point of moving the plot forward. We can't have whole paragraphs of internal monologue as the character debates what to do. No, Luke knows what he's gonna do, and he's gonna do it right now. Would I read this again? I mean, yeah, probably. It's got some important morals that I want to really teach to my future offspring. So, back onto the shelf it goes. Next book. I got my handy dandy jar, mixy mixy mix, and we're going to be reading... Hi, Goover. Are you here for the book reveal? What does it say? Okay. Secret Life of the American Musical. All right. This is one of my nonfiction books. It's on my theater shelf up here at the very top. See, I've started this book a couple times, and it's basically a history of the Broadway musical, how we got to where we are, and how they were produced and all that kind of stuff. So, the next video is going to be a little bit different, I believe. It's not going to be a straight, like, plot synopsis. That's kind of hard to do with nonfiction books. Alright, thank you everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye!